Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. As always, please like and subscribe if you have a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. This one is actually going to be a pretty quick wrap up because there weren't a huge amount of cards that took place, nor was there a lot of action that I took much notice of this week outside of the the matchroom card. What I will say is a quick shout out to Guadalupe Lupita Medina, who competes in the minimum weight division where Sinisa Estrada just recently retired from. She's 8-0 with 2 KOs at this point, and she took on a lady by the name of was it Catherine Lindenmuth, I think her name was. Got a majority decision there. She's one of the ones, if you saw the Femme Files that I was doing previously, she was definitely one of the new ones to watch. I think when she gets to 8-0, sort of 8 rounders and 10 rounders, she'll probably start to accumulate more knockouts because she definitely does have power and she does set up shots very well. I haven't had a chance to see this fight particularly, but I will get on to UFC Fight Pass when I get the opportunity. But yeah, look out for Guadalupe Lupita Medina. I think a lot of the time she's just announced as Lupita Medina. Babyface Assassin is her moniker, and unlike Shannon Courtney, the name does actually fit. She does have a baby face. I think she's like 21 or 22 at this point. But yeah, look, if we move on to matchroom card, obviously Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis. There wasn't a huge amount of stuff on that card that I was interested in. There was a debut by a lady called, I think it's Emily Whitworth. I think she's like a 5-time national champion and a European gold medalist or something like that. I'm trying to think. She competes in I think it's bantamweight, but from what I saw of her performance, was very impressed. She's got very good punch selection. She's got a decent jab, but she's very heavy-handed on the hook, and she definitely has got good timing. So I will be keeping an eye on her moving forward. Outside of that, you had, I think, William Cruller had a pretty good another, what's he now? I think he's 5-0. I think that was his 5th fight of his, and was that his 5th fight? Yeah, it was his 5th fight. His 6th KO, I believe, over Lorenzo Grasso. So yeah, good performance by him. Steve Clark, I didn't really watch a lot of it, but it was what it was. Got a fairly comfortable win. Janae Boston against Marco Samariva. Very good finish, good punch selection, good shot to the body. I had some concerns over his footwork in the fight. He was switching from orthodox to southpaw, but the concerns I had was when he was actually moving his feet. Number one, he was crossing his feet into straight lines, and number two, he was also rolling on the sides of his feet, so you could see his ankles actually look like they would turn over if any pressure was applied to them. And I think the issue I had with that is obviously you can't really, I know you're someone that wants to set himself, but if you get caught in that kind of transition, one wrong shot, one wrong step, and then, that's a ligament torn, that's a tweak, that's a stretch, that's a pull. And there was a lot of things that just was kind of concerning me. Plus, yeah, the way he was hunkering down, very wide stance. Yes, it works for these guys that are in much smaller dimensions than you, when you can kind of get that leverage. But when you face someone that's of a similar height, size, and build, you're not able to get in and out of range as quickly. And then you end up having to either try and spring out of range or tip your head back to try and block a shot, hence putting your chin in the air. And all of these kind of things are things that I do think will cause him massive problems in the future. So I would like to see him start to tighten up on that stuff now. Yes, he's fighting opposition that aren't of the right level, but that doesn't mean that you start neglecting the fundamentals or start taking liberties. You have to try and remain disciplined enough to keep all of the things at the same level as you would if you was fighting the better guys. So, sort of taking the certain chances or taking advantage of the lower level opposition doesn't always work to your favor. But he got a very good stoppage at the end of it. Him and Ishmael Davis started talking about marinating a fight for an English slash British level title, which I don't like to see. The same thing's happening with Adam Azim and Dalton Smith. I think all of that is just nonsense, to be honest. Fight, like, you know, have the fight now, especially with Ismail Davis no longer actually being an undefeated fighter. There's no pressure on him to have to build up to the biggest and the best fight. He can fight that fight now. He doesn't need to wait for a British title or take another year of marination or whatever. But you know, that is what it is. Pat McCormack had a very good performance over William Anders Herrera. It was a one-sided drubbing. I think it was over 8 rounds or 10 rounds. No, I think it was a 10-rounder. Yeah, nothing really much to speak about. You had Jimmy Joe Flint, aka James Flint, or I should say James Flint, aka Jimmy Joe, taking on Campbell Hatton. It was repeat. He beat Campbell Hatton again. I thought the scorecards was actually very generous to Campbell Hatton. It was a unanimous decision, but the scorecards read 97-94, 96-94, and 96-95. I thought 2 of those especially were very generous. I scored it 97-93 to actually, technically, I think I actually scored it 98-92 to Jimmy Joe Flynn, but I said I can accept 97-93. I'm not sure what round they gave as a draw round, and yeah, there were some, you know, rounds that looked a bit, you know, messy as such, but realistically, Jimmy Joe landed the cleaner shots pretty much in every round. Hatton, you know, tried to burrow his way in, work on the chest a little bit, but he was just getting caught with counters for fun for the majority of it. He's been with Ben Davison for the last 7 months. I don't know what they've been working on personally, and that's not a disrespect or anything. It's just Campbell kind of looked similar. In the first round, he actually looked like he was shaping up a little bit better than he has done previously, but ultimately, Campbell Hatton is what he is. When it came to it, when it came under pressure, he reverted to type. I've been very critical and dismissive and a bit disrespectful towards his abilities in the past, and I probably won't change that as a such. But at the level he is at, I will give him the fact that at the moment he's in fun, entertaining fights. This fight was very entertaining, just like the first fight was entertaining for that level. And if he's, you know, if he sticks at this level and he takes more losses or he has more wins, you know, I'll watch the fights now, because before the fights were just horrible to watch. At least these fights they're mildly competitive, and I guess it's not his fault that he ended up being the chief support. Obviously, the match between Reese Bellotti and Michael Gomez Jr. didn't happen, so this ended up being chief support for the night. But I won't hold that against them. It was a fun, entertaining scrap. And I guess had Campbell Hatton had not been pushed so heavily up the top of the cards by Sky when he first signed to Matchroom, you know, doing chief supports and co-mains and taking slots away from guys that actually deserve to be there, I probably wouldn't have been as harsh on him as I then became. Then when he started going back down the rankings, going off, you know, off TV segments before the bell a couple times, you know, all that stuff, I didn't mind it as much. So while I'm still not, you know, I'm still not impressed by him in any way, shape or form, I'm not as harsh on him as I once was. But that being said, two losses on the bounce, I can't see him sticking with Matchroom. So I can see a scenario where he probably now gets picked up by Ben Shalom for Boxer. Maybe even, you know what, Izzy Azif from GBM, he might, if he decides that he might take him on because they're getting some shows now, he can maybe start headlining some of those quote unquote small hall shows that they do, which are actually broadcast on the zone as well. You know, maybe start fighting on a Monday or a Wednesday or a Thursday night rather than these Friday and Saturday cards. And I'm sure he's still got a fan base that will come out and show for him off the strength of his dad. So yeah, we'll wait and see. But obviously the main point of this video and the main thing that I'll speak about is Jack Catterall versus Regis Prograis. Now, before I speak speak about the fight as a whole, and I'll probably will give a little bit more of my assessment and breakdown of it, since there will be no breakdown shows on Tuesdays anymore. I want to say the judging and the scorecard by Tony Bellew. As far as I put it on Twitter, I believe that they were all arse cheeks, or ass cheeks, as I had said, and not the good kind, not the juicy round plump ones that I'm used to smacking. I'm talking about those flat pack ones that you look at and you wonder where the front and the back join, and where they one end and the other one begins. That's the kind of cars that we was looking at. And it's funny because for the first 5 rounds of that card, minus the first round, which Tony Bellew scored as a draw round, 10-10, me and Tony Bellew had the exact same scorecard minus that first round. First 2 rounds I gave to Regis Prograis. Neither person did anything in the first round at all, but Regis was at least coming forward trying to affect action, whereby Jack Catterall virtually did nothing. I think he landed maybe one jab, but Regis landed a couple of hard body shots and the jab as well. So I think I gave him that round just based off of the most minuscule of differences. Round 2 was a very strong round for Regis Prograis, and he scored that one quite well for me. Rounds 3 and 4, Jack Catterall came back into the fight. He was controlling tempo, controlling range a bit more in those rounds. Upped his work rate a little bit. Regis wasn't really throwing. He was trying to find his way into range. I think he was looking for just 1 or 2 big shots here and there. So I think that's the reason. But Catterall was able to sort of get himself back into it. Round 5 was looking a bit like a Catterall round to start off with, but Regis came into it quite well. He affected a couple shots to the body. He ended up throwing a big shot to the chest, which, I think Catterall partially slipped as well, but the shot landed, and because of that, he ended up touching down to the floor, got straight back up. They ended up in an exchange, but the referee jumped in to administer and finish administering the count for Jack Catterall. And Regis took over that round and then won the rest of it quite comfortably for me. Round 6 and 7, to me, I believe round 6 was Regis's best round in the fight. If I'm remembering the round correctly, he threw quite a lot of heavy punches. The backhand was landing a bit more consistently from head and body. The jab was working. He was walking Catterall back towards the ropes quite often. Catterall was looking to try and sort of grab hold, spin off, but Regis Prograis looked like he was doing really good work in the 6th. The 7th round was a bit more of the same. It was a little bit more even in terms of the output of both men, but I think that the 7th round again, Regis just did more, and he was on the front foot. It was effective aggression. It was effective clean striking, with Jack Catterall trying to counter from time to time, but I felt Regis was just edging and doing a bit more work on the overall throughout the pace of that round. So at the end of 7 rounds, I had it 5-2 to Regis Prograis. But round 8, Jack Catterall came back into it. I felt like he definitely landed the cleaner strikes there. Regis started to slow down his work. He didn't really throw as much. He landed a couple of I think there was a couple of jabs here and there. 1 or 2 body shots. He tried for a couple of winging overhand shots, which didn't really connect either. Maybe they were too telegraphed, but Jack Catterall came into that one quite well. And I thought, okay, he's got this one back. So I did 5-3. Then in round 9, probably the turning point of the entire fight, Jack Catterall starts to hold his feet a little bit more towards the center of the ring, which is obviously where Regis kind of wants him. But Catterall, even though he ate some big shots in that round himself, he ended up catching Regis Prograis with some counter left hands. It was a left hand counter hook, which floored Regis Prograis, knocked him down towards the start of the round. Regis sprung straight back up though, said he was good to go, and then right at the end of the round, he caught him with another counter left hook as they're in a clinch and an exchange and in a trade, and his feet slide from underneath him. He drops down, obviously, but manages to spring straight back up. But again, the ref separates them and he administers another count. Very big 10-7 round to Jack Catterall, which at that point had me it had it even on my card. And yeah, I thought, okay, so now Catterall's taken over. Round 10, it looked as if Regis Prograis, Catterall was just maintaining the pace. He was doing quite well. Regis Prograis came back into the fight in the 10th round. Like he sort of managed to compose himself and get his bearings back, but it wasn't enough to take it away from Jack Catterall. I felt Catterall just, maintained his lead and sort of just kept himself narrowly in front. Round 11, I thought was a very strong Catterall round. I mean, look, Regis he was defiant. He tried to sort of stick in there, hang in there, but he just couldn't get the time in. Catterall just managed to take take those moments away from him, nullified everything that Prograis tried to do. It was just a bit of a freak show. And then unfortunately in the 12th round, I think this happened in the 12th. It may have started from the 11th, but definitely in the 12th, Regis, I think they tangled up at some point, and he walked awkwardly on his ankle, on his right ankle, so he could barely put weight on it. There were some moments he looked okay, then other moments he looked really hard to kind of push off of, to the point where he started trying to even swing overhand lefts just from at a distance, being desperate because he just couldn't close the distance on Jack Catterall, to the point at one point he even backed off into his corner and just beckoned Catterall to come in and say, okay, let's work this in the corner. Catterall came in. They managed to have a little bit of an exchange in there, but it ended up being messy. Referee sort of split it and separated it. And then Catterall just managed to, stay at range, pick him off from afar, and Regis just couldn't close the distance, couldn't move. The legs had just gone. And at that point, Catterall won the 12th round very, very wide. So on my scorecard, I had it 114, 111. That takes into account the knockdown by Jack Catterall and the 2 knockdowns against Regis Prograis. I've seen reports on if you check out the Boxing News app from Boxing News, Rob Tebbett and all of those guys. A lot of their consensus audience had the fight scored at 113, 112 to Jack Catterall, and I think from what I've seen, a lot of the consensus is 115, 111. So there's a draw round in there somewhere that a lot of them have given to Jack Catterall, but I didn't score any draw rounds in the fight. I felt I was pretty clear with all the rounds that I did give. So yeah, I mean, in my predictions video, I actually said I feel like this would be like one of those, not a career best, but like one of those resurgent performances by Regis Prograis. And even though I expected Catterall to lose, I felt that Prograis would push him really close, and it would be a really, really close fight on the scorecards. And the way I predicted the fight to take place was that Prograis would have a lot of the earlier success, and Catterall would manage to sort of Catterall would, when Regis started to slow down a bit, that's where Catterall would be able to maybe start to get himself back into it and just push himself slightly ahead. But while they're both fresh, Regis may actually have enough speed and movement to be able to get to Catterall before he starts to slow down. And I said the fact that because Catterall isn't like a speedy guy on his feet, like Regis will have a bit of an easier time trying to catch him in his transitions than he did with Devin Haney and with Danielito Zorrilla. I do think I felt that in this fight initially, that when Catterall slowed down in those middle rounds, that's where Regis will start to have a bit more success, and Catterall might have to do some shucking and jiving and maneuvering. But that actually ended up happening a few rounds earlier than I had predicted. But yeah, I felt it would be a very, very close fight on the cards. A lot of the consensus public believed it to be a close fight. Like 114, 111 is ultimately 7 rounds to 5. The 113, 112 is 6 rounds to 6, with obviously 2 knockdowns against Regis and 1 knockdown against Catterall. So to then see scorecards of 108, 10, what was it? No, it was 118, 108, and 117, 109 times 2. Yeah, horrendous, ridiculous. So essentially, Regis Prograis was given in one card, he was given 2 rounds, which means he was given the second and the fifth. And on another card, he was given 3 rounds. I would assume those were probably rounds 1 and 2, um, and then the fifth, or rounds 2, round 5, and then maybe round 6 on one of the other cards. But Tony Bellew, who literally he scored the first round a draw, anything he could do to give the home fighter consideration, and then literally only gives 2 rounds to Prograis. So his card would have been 118, 109 if you count the draw round, which again, way too wide. Those cards do not represent what happened in the fight. And the fact, as I said, I had Regis winning the first half of the fight. Um, I had him 5 rounds up after 7 rounds, and it was only from round 8 onwards where Catterall came back into it and obviously showed his mettle. And those 2 knockdowns, that was really the tipping point. Because in that round, I think Regis was actually, he was doing better. He was winning that round until those knockdowns. So, you swing that one, and then all of a sudden, you've got a fight where Regis probably nicks it by a point on the cards. Now, again, I picked Catterall to win the fight. So I'm not saying it's like, oh, it's an injustice that Regis didn't get the victory and I'm angry because I picked the wrong person. No, I picked the right person to win. But those scorecards were horrendous. And it makes, it's no wonder why Regis did say previously, it's like, I'll never fight back in the UK. It's the same reason why Jermaine Franklin said, yeah, nah, like, if I come to the UK, like, I don't mind coming and fighting, like, some, like a non-Brit or like a non-UK guy on one of the cards, but, I ain't coming back to fight none of these other, like, these British guys, because I'm just not getting no consideration. And don't get me wrong, everywhere has favoritism and partiality, but it's hard to then tell someone, no, well, it's the same everywhere. Yeah, it might be, but if you're constantly getting, that kind of treatment, in these, in the big markets, it's gonna, you're gonna not want to really risk anything and say, oh, well, if the only way I can win is to get a knockout, but I'm not sure if this guy, I'm fighting someone that's never been knocked out and has never even really, has never been down on the floor before. You can say, well, will I get consideration on the card? Who knows? But to me, yeah, like I said, the right person won the fight. I'm not disputing that. But the way we got to that, anyone just looking at this from afar, like, 5 years, 10 years down the line, someone just looks at a box rec and sees those scorecards. Oh shit, he got washed. That's not the case at all. Like, the fight was very, very close. And whereas I normally say sometimes you can have a fight that's competitive, but it's not close on the scorecards, this is not that. This was a fight that was close, again, up until the 9th round is where everything changed. The fight was basically in the balance until the 9th round. It became an even fight after 9, in my opinion. And there's only the last 3 rounds where Catterall kind of established himself and separated himself from Prograis. But part of that, again, was Prograis suffering an injury right at the end of the fight and could barely move. So the fact that, Catterall literally had a knockout on his plate ready to go, and just due to his nature of being, a cautious back foot, counter punching fighter, just didn't take the chance, didn't execute. So yeah, look, overall, it was a really good fight, marred by horrible judging, and very biased, I guess bias analysis by the people with Matchroom and whatnot. But again, look, Regis is 35, so clearly he wasn't going to be getting the major considerations over Catterall, who's 31. So he's got a few years left more at the table. There's more upside in him, and I think he recently just signed a new contract with them, whereas this was Regis's last fight with them. And obviously he said, look, I'm probably going to retire from 12-round or championship boxing. I might do bare knuckle, or I'll be doing like 8 and 10 rounders from now on, because I just can't really do the 12-round distance anymore. It doesn't work for me. So look, if he does retire from official like championship boxing, then that's I'll rate that well done to him. Three defeats in his career, 2-time super lightweight champion or light welterweight. Yeah, look, he had a great career. He just had some very, very bad style matchups right towards the end. He probably would have done better with those styles about 5, 6, 7 years ago when he was a little bit younger and fresher. But it is what it is. Congratulations to Jack Catterall, and I guess Sam Jones's initial predictions from 3 years ago doesn't hold true. But yeah, we move on to the next one for him. They're talking about him looking at the Paro versus Hitchinson, uh, uh, the Richardson Hitchens, sorry, championship bout in December. Quite frankly, though, they need to just concentrate on either Teofimo Lopez or Alberto Puello. Like they might as well try and get those belts in house first, then start doing unifications in house rather than just trying to fight over one particular belt in the division. And at the end of the day, he's mandatory for the WBO. So why are you trying to run for the IBF title? Like take the mandatory, force Teofimo Lopez into the ring, get a big, use that to get a big fight. And if he decides to drop the belt, then you take that belt, you elevate yourself, and then you do a unification for 2 belts rather than everyone just trying to fight over one belt because that's the only one they got in house. That's personally how I see it. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on everything. I'm gonna leave it there. Not really much else to talk about. But yeah, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much for watching. Leave your comments down below. Let me know if you think I've been too harsh on a couple people, if I haven't been harsh enough on some others as well. I'm all down to hear the background and the feedback. But with that being said, I'm going to get off now. Watch some of the football that's taking place this weekend. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.